You are listening to South Dakota Public Broadcasting's live webcast service on the South Dakota Network. More information at sd.net.
It is 2 o'clock, and you are welcome to start the meeting whenever the motion takes you.
Okay, thanks, Carrie, and good afternoon, everybody. Can we go ahead and, let's start with the roll call. Meeting's now in order.
Dustin Coleman.
Here.
Cord Eklund.
Here.
David Howard.
Here.
Ralph Johnson is not joining. Ivan Venner.
Here.
Bob Huggins.
And I'm here too. Sounds like a
You have a
quorum, so thank you. Is Carla, are you on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I can't seem to find my shortcuts per Robert Rules of Order, so keep me legal, please.
Okay, will do.
Do we have any conflicts of interest to bring up? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on down to the approval of the March 19th meeting minutes. One thing I had on page 4, it says Commissioner Dustin Coleman asked if the weather camera practice should be added to the document. I think practices should be purchased. Am I correct?
No, I believe it was practices as in how the cameras are purchased, but there's a process to which they are a practice to how they are asked for and all of that. That's what I think he was referring to.
Okay, that's good enough for me.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, Dustin Coleman, I've got a couple here. So it's minor and doesn't change anything, but attachment number 1 is spelt wrong.
Yeah, it is.
Missing an H
Thank you.
on all of them.
Yep.
And then in page 3, where we're talking about SB 205, about midway down that first paragraph there, it says the Commission for providing state funds for the AIP program. There should be a period there, and then the loss of the state match for $2 million per year.
Got it.
Is that it, Dustin?
Yep, that's the grammar police.
Anybody else have any comments? Okay, hearing none, let's go ahead and Carla, let's have a roll call vote for approval of the March 19th minutes with the corrections.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you're going to need a motion and a second.
Yeah. That's what happens when we skip 1 month. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes?
As edited.
And with that motion,
Make a. Oh.
Okay. Did you get any of those names, Carrie?
Nope, you get to call them.
Okay. So,
Eklund will make the motion.
Okay, thank you. And do we have a second?
Howard will second.
Seem to have, on my end here anyway, seem to have quite a bit of lag between, so fortunately this is a short meeting today. Okay, so we have a first and a second. Let's go ahead and do a vote.
Coleman.
Yes.
Eklund.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Venner.
Yes.
Huggins.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Sounds like it's unanimous. Okay, next. I think we're going to, my assistant, hold on. Yeah. And now we'll get the mowers to show up here shortly. Okay, well, let's consider here. I believe the next thing on the agenda is the consideration of Aeronautic Commission comments on aeronautical study, that went through there. I presume everybody had a chance to read it. The reason we sent this out, if you remember, a few months ago, we had a discussion on this, and it was decided that if we were going to respond or not. And I am going to respond, but it would carry more authority if I responded as the chairman of the South Dakota Aeronautics Commission. With what you have there, the only change that I would put, if the Aeronautics Commission does agree that we should send this out as the commission, the very first line of the document is to voice objection to the reference to wind turbine proposals, and I would just change that to the South Dakota Aeronautics Commission, and then it would just be my signature on it, but would say that the commission has an objection to it. Does anybody have want to discuss anything on this? Why this is an issue that I think needs to be presented and objected to? Does anybody object?
I don't object. I guess I'm more curious do we want to try to consider standards as far as just kind of blanket standard? I mean, the FAA has their standards, but in my understanding, their study says that it doesn't provide a hazard. What do we consider is hazardous?
One of the things that I have, and I mentioned in there, was the wind turbine farm national guidance. Just what gets me as far as being a hazard is the fact that the 650-foot turbines do go into VFR airspace. And let's face it out here. There's a lot of airports that do not have instrument approaches. And much like that Highmore incident or accident, let's face it, they do scud running around here. And sometimes that's the only way to get into your airport. My hazard to this is just in general that you're chugging along. You see, okay, there's wind turbines there. Okay, yep, they're fine, but you don't realize that you're flying towards right next to this 499-foot wind turbine farm. You're flying towards something 150 feet taller. And when you've got like the situation down in Highmore where the visibility was down, does it give you enough time to go around it? And the fact that ours was one of the first wind turbine accidents ever, it just kind of affects that, we have this. And it's not that I object to wind turbines. I have no problems with wind turbines. I have objections to ones that don't meet the standards that have been proven safe. I don't know how many of you know what a safety risk management panel is. It's something the FAA came up whenever there's going to be a change that one of these has to be conducted and make sure that it is safe. And that document previously said that every further wind turbine farm that's built has to have a safety risk management local one conducted to assess the fact that there may be, how much, ag operations are done low altitude in here. What is the VFRs that go across, legally up there, which they can't see. They cite that, there's insignificant traffic. Well, I don't know how much you guys know about the radars, but the radar beam is angled up, I believe, if I remember, it's been about 10 years, but it's angled up at a 3-degree slope. So the further you get away from the radar, the less you're going to see down below. If you've got a transponder, it does help, but if the plane's flying out there, doesn't have a transponder, they're not going to see it. And I am not saying that the radar site here is the one that they have in western Minnesota for the center. It's going to be a ways away from here. Are they going to see it? So, like I say, I don't have a problem with wind turbines. I have a problem with them approving wind turbines that haven't been properly safety analyzed. And we definitely don't need to have another one.
Right.
And also one of the things that, and some of the research I've been doing on here, down in Texas, they have erected a 1,000-foot turbine, and, I would hope that one had a, safety risk study done on it. But, yeah, I just don't think that we need to give up our airspace, when the 650-foot wind farm is going right next to, the Crown wind farm up there. Why does it have to be this much taller right next to one that apparently 499 feet was purely adequate enough?
Right.
Commissioner Howard agrees with you.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, Commissioner Coleman agrees as well. I was just more trying to. No, is there a standard that we think we should? I mean, I think it should be the VFR airspace, because scud running is a real thing, and like you were saying with ag operations, it could present a real danger, and not having the studies done or. I have no problem signing it, the commission, as long as I don't know legally. Carla might be able to help answer that if there's any issues with that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Carla.
so I do think you'd need a motion and second and a vote to authorize Chairman Huggins to submit the proposed objections on behalf of the Aeronautics Commission.
Okay, thank you, Carla. And is there anything legally that we need to consider before we do that? I think that the commission has every responsibility and every right, if they have an objection to something, to voice it out there. The only thing that, I'm sure that the proponent's going to be mad if they see that and if this gets shot down. The one thing that, when I was talking with AOPA Safety, they've worked on this issue. They said the reason to make sure that if we are happy or agree to do this, that where some of the issues that will shoot it down then is the insurance companies will see this. And, it's going to make it harder to get insurance. And I don't have a problem with that. They're insuring their industry. But do you see any other legal action that can be against us on this?
I don't see a valid legal cause of action. You can always be sued, but that doesn't mean you can be sued successfully. And honestly, I don't see a legitimate claim for commenting on something that's within your authority.
Okay. Thank you, Carla. Does anybody else have any comments? Hold on.
Who is responsible for establishing the members of the SRMP?
It's usually probably it's going to be airspace would be the ones that sent out this saying that they don't have a problems with it. But it's the FAA. The FAA is responsible for conducting them.
Okay, so the FAA will select the panel themselves, correct?
I'm trying to remember how this is done. They will select the panel, and as far as, like say, it's been a long time since I was involved in any of these. But they will select the panel. And I presume that somebody from the DOT will be on it. And I'm suggesting that the two flight schools in that area, they also be on it, and they'll pick it out. They'll figure out who they want on that.
It might be advantageous to have some of the DOs from local 135 operations at least be contacted to see if they could be a part of it as well.
And that's why when there's going to be one, I believe that generally the airports in the area will be contacted, and be up to, the managers or the sponsors to distribute the announcement. But these are open to the public. It's not that only the invitees can show up.
Right.
Anybody else? Okay, well, we have a motion to authorize the, was there somebody else in there?
No, I didn't realize you were going to keep going. Coleman will make the motion to approve this letter to be signed out on behalf of the commission.
Okay, thank you. Dustin, do we have a second?
Eklund will second.
Okay, thank you, sir. Roll call, Carla.
Do you need a discussion at all?
So, Mr. Chairman, normally after a motion and second, you would call for discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Carla. I'll find those orders, the Robert's rules again before our next meeting.
No worries.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we've had the motions made. Can we get the roll call, please, Carrie?
Coleman,
Yes.
Eklund,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Huggins,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, I guess now we're up to any public input. Okay, that's going to go quickly. Secretary Junt, you're up.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Real short report here today. I just wanted to talk about the federal appropriations bill. As you know, that is due every October 1st for the next fiscal year. The House Appropriations Committee did release their Transportation, Housing, Urban Development, which is acronym is THUD, for the 27 appropriations, and they filed that on May 20th, so yesterday. That subcommittee also had their hearing this morning on the bill, which provides an opportunity for input in any possible amendments. I was not able to listen to that this morning, but as part of their filing, Chairman Cole stated that the bill focuses on modernization of the infrastructure, providing reliable travel and stronger neighborhoods. On the funding side of that, the bill proposes a total discretionary allocation of $92.24 billion, which is actually $10.65 billion, or about 10% less than what they provided in fiscal year 26. So on the one end, that's a little bit concerning, but as they're looking at this, I think they are trying to provide more prioritization from the infrastructure as opposed to other things that was in the engine bill. So some of the key takeaways were funding towards a world-class air traffic control system, and they're going to provide $22.7 billion to FAA for that. They're looking at hiring 2,300 new air traffic controllers and replacing the dated telecommunication infrastructure with FAA. And they're also looking at redirecting $7.9 billion, again, from what's currently in the bill relative to priorities, and moving that on to the towards this bill with more safety, stronger freight movement, and more reliable travel for the traveling public. And as you know, this is just one bill out of 12 relative to appropriations, so they've got a long ways to go, but at least they've got this one out for comment, and hopefully they made a decision on here this morning to move it forward and getting this package ready to go. It'd be great to have this out before October 1st, but we'll wait and see where the rest of the bills come in at. So I think good news overall relative to FAA and AIP, hopefully on our end. So that's all I have for you this afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Joel, anybody have any questions for Joel? Let's go ahead and Jack.
So Jack is not able to be with us here today. I think, John, you're going to handle his items for this meeting.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I've got, I believe there's 46 grant applications here, a mix of AIP grants and IIJA grants, or which were previously referred to as bill grants. You'll notice in this batch that there are a number of revenue-producing projects. There are a lot of hangar construction and hangar design, and as per the meeting a couple of months ago, the state participation in those is restored to what it was previously, 2.5% state participation as well as 2.5% local. So you'll see that in this list. It's quite a lengthy list. I won't be reading this list. If you do have questions, again, I don't have the entire project documentation for all these projects, but I can certainly provide those if you were to ask me. You know, I can answer your questions about those projects, but this list is it's pretty lengthy, but next month I anticipate there'll be maybe not quite this many, but what's happening is this is the last year of the IG grants, the Bill IG grants. So these airports are attempting to use what remains of their money, and so as I said, I won't read through the list. I'll just let you cruise through these and discuss them as necessary.
Do any of you, the commissioners, see anything that you wonder if you need to exclude yourself from? I glanced through it and I did not see anything from the various airports. Did any of you spot anything? Well, that makes it simple. Well, I guess
Coleman and Rapid
we
City.
are up to.
There's a Rapid City one.
Mr. Chairman.
There is a T one as well for
I was on
Eklund.
mute.
Okay, we had several there. First, let's go with Carla because she's the legal. What did you have there, Carla?
So, Mr. Chairman, I believe there may be one or more of these grants where commission members have identified a potential conflict of interest. I think the way those have normally been handled is they've been handled separately, and then the commission members with conflicts of interest have recused themselves. So,
Okay. Yeah, I think it was mentioned Rapid.
Rapid City is one.
Any?
I thought I heard someone say something about T.
Yep, Eklund for T.
Okay, and what is, you have a hangar down at T?
Yeah, at least hangar space there.
Okay.
I would ask, are
And,
there any other commission members that have potential conflict of interest with this list?
Other than
So far-
with the Rapid City.
Coleman and Eklund, I believe.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else?
So, Mr. Chairman, you might
Yeah,
want
go
to
ahead, Carl.
entertain motions on those separately from
Yes.
the rest of the list.
Okay. So,
Chairman Huggins?
yes.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Howard. I do own a small hangar at Vermillion.
Okay. So I guess we'd have Vermillion, then we need to, if you own it, we need to exclude Vermillion. Okay. Anybody else? Well, let's do it alphabetically. Can we have a motion to approve Rapid City's request?
Venner makes motion to approve the Rapid City funding.
Do we have a second?
Howard will
Eklund will
second.
second.
I think I heard Commissioner Howard. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, can we go ahead and have a vote?
Eklund,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Huggins,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, motion is carried. Okay. The next will be T. Construct hangar taxi lane. Okay, can we have a motion to approve the T request?
Coleman will make the motion to approve the T request.
And can we have a second?
Benner seconds.
Okay, we have a motion by Coleman and a second by Benner. Can we get a vote or discussion? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Carrie, can we get a vote?
Coleman,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Huggins,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, and then finally, Vermilion. And the Vermilion was for pavement rehab of taxi lanes, taxiways, and aprons. Any comments? Okay, can we get a motion to approve Vermilion?
Eklund will make the
Benner
motion.
Okay, I heard Mr. Eklund first, or Commissioner Eklund first, and the second.
Benner seconds.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Okay, we have a first by Eklund, second by Benner. Get a roll call vote.
Coleman,
Yes.
Eklund,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Huggins,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay. Well, we got those three out of the way. Unfortunately, now, does anybody have any problems with just approving all of the others as one big vote? Hearing none, can we have a motion to approve the remaining grants?
Coleman will make the motion to approve the rest of the grants.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. And do we have a second?
Howard will second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. We have first by Commissioner Coleman, a second by Commissioner Howard. Any further discussion? Hey, let's get a vote, Carrie.
Coleman,
Yes.
Eklund,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Huggins,
Yes.
motion carries.
Again, that was simple.
All right.
Okay, John.
Yes, thank you for that. The next item is consideration of fuel tax funds request for the Watertown Airport. The airport manager had submitted a memo discussing the pavement maintenance in their hangar area. On the memo, it mentions that they're requesting the use of fuel tax funds in the amount of $24,930.65, which they do have in their fuel tax. I believe Ian is on the line if anybody had questions, but he does address in the memo I guess the estimate and the work done. He also included the PCI map of their pavements. And yeah, if there are any questions, are you on the line, Ian? Oh, okay, maybe he did not call in.
This is Brooke. I'm available if you have any questions with him.
Okay. Brooke is familiar with the work being done there as well, so thank you, Brooke. So that's what we're recommending approval of the fuel tax fund request in the amount of $24,930.65.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, can we get a motion to approve the fuel tax fund request?
Benner makes a motion to approve the Watertown Regional Airport fuel tax funding request.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have a second?
Coleman will second it.
Okay, Commissioner, thank you very much. We have a first and a second vote. Carrie, please.
Coleman,
Yes.
Eklund,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Huggins.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. Thank you. Hey, Commissioner Howard, you had a gentleman from Watertown. Is he on? Do we know?
No, Brooke is the only
I
one
guess
that's
I didn't-
online.
Okay. So,
He must not have called in today, so.
well, we're going to we're going to have this as a subject, but it's going to be postponed till next month. If you remember, on the last meeting, Joel had talked about the Board of Technical Education and the funding for the drone program, that there was a bill to take the funds out of our account, and he was going to speak. Well, we're going to try to get him on the next meeting, but just consider, the commission before has funded things other than just pavement and steel. We funded a flight simulator for Watertown. We funded, for Brookings. We funded a panel for Cessna up at Watertown. We sponsored and helped fund with South Dakota Pod Association the art contest. And some discussion is going to be held on if we want to look at doing scholarships to this. I think there would just probably be we'd have to talk to the Board of Technical Education, but I understand Mitchell has a program that deals with the crop dusters as drones. And Watertown has their AMP program, their pilot program, and their drone program, and Brookings has a flight program. And just kind of considering, making some scholarships available for that program. I've been talking with the South Dakota Pod Association. They do give a scholarship to Watertown, and I'm trying to find out. I know nothing about administering scholarships, but consider if you think that would be a good idea. And we're not looking for full, program scholarships, because let's face it, that's going to be very expensive. But even something to help, even if it's just $5 to each one of those $500 to each one of those programs. Or if, we'd have to talk with Kelly if we need to go higher, if we can go higher, if we should go higher. Will people even apply in this day and age for a $500 scholarship? I got a $500 scholarship when I went to the University of North Dakota Aviation Program, but that was 1978, and $500 bought a lot more than it does now. So I'm not even sure if I'm not going to make any effort on that. So just consider it. What do you think of the idea? And we'll have that on the agenda for our next meeting. Is there anything else that you guys think would be a good idea that the commission does in general? Like I say, I always felt that we were almost a rubber stamp. I don't want to be that. I want to be doing things like, getting the cameras, if we need to do scholarships, having opinions on towers that exceed FARs. So if anybody else, you don't even have to do it right now, bring it up. But if you think about it, voice it. Let us know what you have. We'll be very happy to, consider that. Does anybody else have anything? Yeah.
Commissioner Coleman has something here. We brought it up in the last meeting. I thought we were going to talk about it here, but I'd really like to get it on the list for next month's agenda, is the memo for our funding policies. I would think it would be good for us to put in there our policy that we have regarding the weather cameras, so that way it's in writing and people understand it. And then I do think it would be good for us to at least discuss the $200,000 cap for terminal building projects and try to see if that's still our stance on that and see what the pros and cons of changing that are.
Okay. Yeah, there have been some discussions on that, the 200,000 and, the finances, what percentages we have to, do and stuff. Well, I was not an accounting major. We'll just say that. So, I do like the idea that we keep the, that we have the money to do this stuff. There's some big projects coming up, but, all of this stuff can be discussed and figure out where we want to go from there. So bring up what you
Mr.
guys
Chairman?
need. Yeah.
So are these
Kyle.
requests for placement on the next agenda?
I think if we do a finance discussion, yes, I think, yes, let's put it on the agenda.
I will add those 3 items to the next agenda.
Anybody else?
Chairman, Commissioner Eklund. I'm new here, so I'm just asking this question kind of informationally. But what is the responsibility of the individual airports to maintain these projects that are, that they receive grant money for and that kind of thing? I'm just thinking about the unreliability of a lot of fuel farms. I think everybody's dealt with that in the aviation world. Lack of NOTAMs about spotty service on those fuel farms, that kind of thing. So what kind of ownership does the airport itself have in that? And is there anything kind of that we can do to improve some of those inefficiencies?
Mr. Chairman, this is John.
It's who I was just going to ask for. Go ahead, John.
So all of these airports that are receiving federal money, which are considered obligated airports, when they take a grant, they actually certify that they agree to 39 grant assurances that are basically the strings that are tied to the federal money. The issuance and cancellation of NOTAMs falls under that airport operations umbrella. And so they are supposed to be doing that. And we as an office, as we travel out to the various airports, and of course they have staff changes just like everybody does. They have new staff that comes on board. And of course some of the smaller airports, they do not have, professional airport managers. They usually have other duties that probably have higher priority than the airport. But we do quite a bit in terms of technology transfer and trying to educate those new managers and city staff on the issuance and cancellation of NOTAMs. I think we just continue to stress that, and I've encountered the same thing with regard to fuel not working when it hasn't been NOTAMed or other things similar to that. So I can definitely understand the situation there. But that is the requirements. Is these sponsors do need to be handling NOTAMs. We've encountered some other situations too by air ambulance when NOTAMs either have not been filed or canceled in a timely fashion. So I think it's an education thing, and part of it is a, you know, staff workload thing, to be quite honest.
So, John, what would you recommend? You know, if you were flying in someplace and there wasn't a NOTAM, and if like the commissioner, you know, if he had a problem with that, if there's not a NOTAM issued, you know, if the fuel isn't working, or if there's or if they're out of it, what would you recommend? Or you have any idea? Or is that something we should investigate?
Mr. Chairman, this is Joel. I would say put this on your agenda for next time so you have an opportunity for the public and everybody else to visit on. And I think part of the discussion is what is the accountability that you might want to consider.
Okay. Got that one, Carla?
I got it.
Thank you. And just for the commissioners, please keep bringing up ideas like this. We don't just need to always just approve money and call it a day. You know, let's make aviation better in South Dakota. Anybody else? Okay, that sounds like it. With no other further comments noted, let's call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My dog.
Have a good evening.
Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of SDPB. Follow us on Twitter at SDNet for announcements about what's coming up. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of SDPB. Download the SDNet app to your mobile device and listen wherever you are. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of South Dakota Public Broadcasting. Links to live events and their archives are available at sd.net. You are listening to South Dakota Public Broadcasting's live webcast service on the South Dakota Network. More information at sd.net. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of SDPB. Links to live events and their archives are available at sd.net. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of SDPB. Follow us on Twitter at SDNet for announcements about what's coming up. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of SDPB. Download the SDNet app to your mobile device and listen wherever you are. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of South Dakota Public Broadcasting. Links to live events and their archives are available at sd.net. You are listening to South Dakota Public Broadcasting's live webcast service on the South Dakota Network. More information at sd.net. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of SDPB. Links to live events and their archives are available at sd.net. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of SDPB. Follow us on Twitter at SDNet for announcements about what's coming up. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of SDPB. Download the SDNet app to your mobile device and listen wherever you are. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of South Dakota Public Broadcasting. Links to live events and their archives are available at sd.net.